Hello, fellow yappers. I'm Ruchi.
And I'm Shalini. And we're your hosts of Binge, Yap, Repeat.
We're two best friends who spend an embarrassing amount of time binge watching TV, and honestly, we just need to talk about it. If you're here, we're guessing you do too.
This is a spoiler-friendly zone. So if you haven't watched the show yet, hit pause, go binge, and come back when you're ready to yap with us.
And now, it's yap time. So today we're going to be discussing With Love, Meghan. It's a show on Netflix that premiered March 4th. Honestly, one of the most controversial shows I've kind of seen. I feel like the media backlash to it is like very mixed. So it's kind of insane to see that there's like such a strong negative reaction and a strong positive reaction and like everywhere in the middle. So I actually looked on Rotten Tomatoes. It has a 38% critic meter and a 21% popcorn meter. So the audience, negative reviews from the audience. So let's just kick it off. I just want to know, what were your just overall thoughts on the season? What were your vibes?
Okay, so I started it because I saw a reel making fun of it, and it's specifically about the peanut butter pretzels, which we can get into. And I was like, there's no way it can be this ridiculous. And then I watched it and I was like, wow, it's this ridiculous. But actually, I thought it got a lot better over the course of the season. And I wish she started with a different episode, because I thought episode 1 just gave her, set the tone really weirdly for the show. I felt... Well, we can get into the episode details, I guess. But yeah, I just thought a lot of the other episodes felt like more natural and like more, I think, what she was going for, which is just that like she just loves doing things for people and like making things personal and like spending time with the people she loves. And so I actually ended up enjoying a lot of the show. But some of the criticism is definitely valid. And yeah. But yeah, I do think I liked it a lot more than I thought I would. I also saw that it's already been renewed for season 2, which is very interesting to me.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I kind of felt similarly. I also saw like random scenes from the show on social media, which is why I started watching it. I think I saw the pretzel one, but actually the first scene that I saw was like the Mindy Kaling one, where they're talking about her last name being changed, and that people were like, "Oh, this was super passive aggressive," and this was like, "Oh, this was like actually not passive aggressive at all." She's like clarifying like her family name and stuff, and so that's why I saw it. And then I also saw the pretzel scene, and I was like, "That's fine." So I guess like let's talk about the pretzel scene first, because I feel like what I saw on social media did seem a little overblown, because the whole context of the scene was like she took like popcorn, right? She like made popcorn from like a dried cob, which was actually pretty cool. I just don't have like dried cobs lying around. So like I personally would never use that trick. But I did think that was cool. And so she like put the popcorn in the plastic bag, and then she was like, "Oh, and like now we want a little like another sweet and salty thing. So like let's take these pretzels out and like, well, we'll also put them in the bag because like, why not? Like presentation, right?" So I felt like that moment was like fine, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that one was a little over.
Yeah, I agree. Like she was definitely self-aware about the peanut butter pretzels when she was doing it. She was like, all we're going to do is put it in another bag. And yeah, it was self-aware, but I was like, what? Like, why are we rebagging? I don't know. It's still silly. But yeah, I agree. It was overblown for sure.
Yeah. Well, actually, I think coming back to your point on like the overall tone of this show, I do think it was a weird tone. So like, I think my overall thoughts on this season was like, it was honestly fine. Like, it was a fine show. I don't think I would watch it again. I think if I had the choice to put season 2 on the background, like, sure. I think it's probably like a more background version of Great British Bake Off. Like, that's kind of the vibes it gave me. But I did think like one thing was kind of nagging at me, and I felt like her actions and what she said were kind of incongruous. So an example of this is she kept saying things like, oh, like things don't have to be perfect, like you can just do things that like show your love for people, and it's like totally fine no matter what you do. But then all of the things that she was doing was like, this is like what a perfect woman does. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, she was like, oh, like you don't have to like change out the water of your flower arrangements every day, but then like you're also flower arranging every day. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
like I think there was a little bit of like, I see what she's trying to say. Like she's trying to come at it from this place of like, oh, I'm being like super relatable, and like I too am a working mom, and like this is what I do for my kids. But it still came from a place of, I have oodles and oodles and oodles of time. Yes. And I will put pretzels in from one bag to another, and like have like perfect penmanship, and like create a little bag and create bath salts and towels and everything around it. So I think like that's kind of why I was like, I'm used to there being such a dichotomy here, and she wasn't leaning, or like she was doing one dichotomy and then saying another. It was very weird.
Yeah, that's a great point. Like a lot of people watching are maybe at like a 6 out of 10 on like how much they host, and she's like, you don't have to be a 10 out of 10, I'll show you how to be a 9 out of 10. And we're like, what?
Yeah, or like, I'm gonna be a 10 out of 10, but like this is how you don't have to be a 10 out of 10, you can be a 9 out of 10. That's exactly it. And I was like, I'm at a 2 out of 10 on most days. On a good day, I'm a 3, you know? Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. It did feel a little like just ungrounded at many points.
So actually, I have another question to ask you, kind of following along this line of what your overall thoughts were. Is what was your favorite episode from the season?
Okay, I think my favorite episode. Okay, so let's go through them. Okay, so one is her friend Daniel with the peanut butter pretzels and the honey and the beekeeper guy. 2 is Mindy Kaling. Episode 3 is Chef Roy Korean fried chicken. Episode 4 is her Argentinian friend. Episode 5 is her 2 besties that come over for ladies' brunch or lunch. Episode 6 is game night, the mahjong night.
Oh yeah, okay. I forgot
where she
about
makes
that.
Like chicken tinga with that Mexican chef.
Yes.
Episode 7 is Vicky Tsai, the Tatcha founder, and they make pot stickers. And then episode 8 is Alice Waters, the Chez Panisse chef,
and the brunch.
And the brunch. Yes. Okay. Okay. My favorites were, one was the Chef Roy Korean fried chicken episode, because I thought that took a very different tone than the first 2 episodes, and I was like, oh, this I'm into. And then the second one was her 2 besties that came over that episode, because that one I could truly tell that they're all friends. Like it just seemed much more authentic versus some of the other ones, which we can get into, I felt were less authentic. But yeah, those are my 2 faves.
Oh, okay. I also really liked Chef Roy Choi, probably the most by a long shot. And I think the reason behind this was I think like one thing that is authentic about her is that she definitely has like a love of learning, and she has a love of being perfect, to be honest. Like she has a love of like putting things together and like learning all the things and being able to like create a beautiful experience. I think like that much is pretty clear. But I think like what I enjoyed about Chef Roy was like she felt good about learning something from him. And so I think like I really enjoyed that style of like her learning something from someone else and like exploring that love of learning. I think because the other thing is that I think she's a huge introvert, to be honest. I think she's a really big introvert, and I think that like the kind of charisma that you need as an introvert to like host these kinds of shows is like, that's really, really difficult to do. And so that's why I think that there's like this air of inauthenticity around her, but actually she's just like uncomfortable, honestly. And so like that's why I felt like being with Chef Choi, she was kind of able to like put those thoughts aside and just like learn from this person who was like very used to like teaching other people how to do things. And so like that made it a more comfortable environment.
Okay. That's so interesting. I never thought about her being an introvert. Um, I don't disagree. Like, I definitely think that's true, but I liked this episode for similar reasons because the first two episodes, I'm gonna call it Meghansplaining. Like, I felt like she was just Meghansplaining so many very simple things to people. Like, her friend Daniel and Mindy Kaling, and they were like, oh my God, like, this is groundbreaking. Oh my gosh, making candles out of beeswax? Like, who's even heard of this? And like, oh my gosh, all you do is pipe frosting on a cake. Like, it felt so fake. And then this episode, she was the one that was learning from someone else who is a subject matter expert. And it was so much more interesting because it's like, okay, this is what a Korean fried chicken chef does. This is how he makes fried chicken. And it did feel like she was much more authentic when she was learning versus like when she was doing. So yeah, maybe it has to do with her being an introvert.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I think also like going back to your analogy about like nines and tens and stuff, I think like in the vertical of like cooking and like being domestic and everything, it feels like Meghan is like 10 out of 10, honestly. And so I think like that's why it was more authentic, because in that vertical, Chef Choi was also a 10 out of 10. So it was like two tens, like interacting and like appreciating their craft a little bit, versus like, I think when she was interacting with Daniel or with Mindy, like they are definitely more in the realm of like the average person, just like a 3 or a 4 out of 10, right? If that. And then they were just like, yeah, we've never thought about flower arranging or like making homemade candles or like having an apiary. Like that is not on the radar for most people. So I think that's also why it came across as this Meghansplaining. Okay, so I have some more questions. Speaking of Mindy, there's that iconic moment that's going around on Instagram about like how she was maybe passive aggressive. So just to remind you, I have the YouTube short pulled up, so I'm just gonna play the audio, and then so we can all remind ourselves, and then we can discuss. So here's the audio.
I don't think anyone in the world knows that Meghan Markle has eaten Jack in the Box.
It's so funny, too, that you keep saying Meghan Markle. You know I'm Sussex now. You have kids, and you go, no, I share my name with my children.
Yes.
And that feels so... I didn't know how meaningful it would be to me, but it just means so much to go, this is our family name.
Okay. What were your thoughts?
Okay. So when I first watched this, I thought she was making a joke. I looked into it, but then I was like, that's such a weird joke to make. And then Mindy had such a weird response because I thought it was the kind of thing where, when you're with someone who's funnier than you and you just like try to match their level of humor and then it just falls short because you're not as funny as them. I don't know if that happens to you because you're a very funny person, but I find myself in that situation sometimes and I just like try to like riff off of their humor, like try to be funny and it just falls flat. I thought it was a moment like that. But then I was like, okay, Mindy had a really weird response to that. Like she did not continue riffing. So then I went and looked up like why she said that. And turns out she and Harry and their family, they like changed their name to Sussex. And it's not the first time that's been done before. So when their first baby was born, the last name was recorded as Mountbatten Windsor, which is the official last name of the royal family. But members of the royal family entitled to the style of HRH Prince or Princess, which I think is some term for like royalty.
Highness.
Her Royal Highness, yeah. Members of the royal family entitled to the style of Her Royal Highness Prince or Princess often opt to use their title as a shorthand for their surname. So, for example, Prince William has always used the name Wales, and his children are simply known as George Wales, Charlotte Wales, and Louis Wales at school. So it's not unheard of.
Whale.
There you go. There's that humor I was talking about. And so, yeah, so I was shocked. I did not know that people in the royal family use their titles as names, but I guess she was trying to explain that is what she and Harry have decided to do. So that was a huge learning for me. I had no idea. And now I'm thinking what she was trying to do was like gently educate like Mindy and the public that, like, by the way, our family has made this change. So I don't think it was a joke after all.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Okay. That makes a lot of sense because I did not do this thorough research that you did. So I'm so glad that you did this because I was looking up online and like I was trying to find out like just before watching the show, like if I could suss out if it was passive aggressive or not. I just want the tea. And so a lot of people online were commenting being like, Sussex isn't even the last name. Like it should be Mountbatten Windsor. And like, but then other people were like, no, it's actually common to make your title your last name. And then other people were like, does she even have a right to do that because they left the royal family? So, okay, that's really interesting that it's common. They can still do it even though they left the royal family.
Yeah, it is interesting though that they're keeping it even though they left the royal family.
Well, I guess like it's kind of interesting though, because otherwise, like, what last name would you have, you know? From what you said, it's like they are given a first name and that's like their whole identity, and then based on what property they acquire, that's their last name. Like imagine you're like playing Monopoly and you're like, I am now Ruchi Park Place and that is my name. And you may address me as so.
Wait, but what about Mountbatten Windsor?
Yeah, I think that's also confusing. But maybe it's just like a long last name. I don't know. Or like maybe it's like because they're part of the royal family, they are choosing to do Mountbatten. You know what? I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it. And you may address me as Ruchi Park Place from now on. No, but I think like overall, I did think the comment was a little passive aggressive.
Yeah. I mean, she was definitely trying to like send a message when she said that.
Yes, agreed. Yeah. There was an agenda behind that, and I thought it was weird because there was definitely an agenda behind it, but like the way that she explained it was like, I think it's so important that like we as a family have the same name, but then like didn't say anything about why it was that name versus Mountbatten Windsor versus like something else.
No, literally zero explanation. That's it. Yeah, when she doubled down. That's right. I forgot. She doubled down and was like, "Oh, like I love our little family name." Yeah.
Yeah, and like, "Oh, I find it so meaningful with like our little family name." I don't know. I think that was kind of I think this is like my issue with the whole show. It's like it felt very heavy-handed with like the life philosophies, and like I don't know, it was just so weird because I felt like it was supposed to be a cozy show, but then it was also like, think about your life. Do you have enough joy in your life? Are you perfect enough in your life? And I was like, oh my god, like don't come for me, you know? Like I just want to sit in my PJs and watch this show and that's it. But yeah.
Yes. I 100% agree. Okay, I'm looking up. Sorry, I Googled something for a second. Looking up, this is a bit of a tangent. I'm looking up what eggs look like when they come out of chickens because those eggs were so clean when she went to the chicken house. Speaking of just like being unrelatable, I was like, okay, those look like they've been like washed and cleaned. Why are you pretending like that chicken just laid those eggs? I could be wrong, but I was with my friend once when she was taking chickens out of her parents' chicken coop, and the eggs were gross. Like they were covered in shit and stuff. And like, I was like, did Meghan just not want to show this on TV? I could be wrong. Listeners, if I'm wrong, if eggs come out very clean, let me know. But I was like, there's no way eggs are this clean.
Shocking to me. Oh my god, I did not even pick up on that. Wow, that's crazy. Oh my God. You think she was like, the public can't handle the sight of like raw eggs straight from a chicken's butt.
Literally.
Wow. That's insane. The people have to know that she took
People
eggs
have to
from
know.
the carton and put it into the nest. Wow.
Or maybe she cleaned it up. Okay.
All right. Well, I'm sure someone will tell us.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Oh yeah, and then the one other question that I wanted to ask you. What are your takeaways from the show? Is there anything that you would actually want to try or like want to implement in your life from what you saw on the show?
Great question. Yeah, actually, it actually really did inspire me to do some things. Like I think lavender towels sound lovely. I would love a lavender towel after a long run. And that seems so easy. Yeah, I think I would do that. I was inspired to try making a quiche. So that looked really delicious and not that difficult. What else? What else? Yeah, some of the like hostessy things that weren't food related. So like the lavender towels were one example. I'm trying to think of other
Like
ones. There were other things where I was like, oh, what?
There's like a sun tea. I don't know if
But
that's
yeah, sun tea. That looks kind of fun.
yeah.
Sun
Flower
tea. Also,
arranging.
oh yeah, I don't think I'll be doing that. But the mimosa with the frozen orange juice cubes
Oh,
in the shape of a flower, like that was so cute and so easy. I think I would do stuff like that. So yeah, there were a few things where I was like, yeah, I would do this. I think it would. Yeah. What else?
I think what I wanted to do was the skillet spaghetti. Was it the one skillet spaghetti?
Yeah, that was cool.
I'm such a huge fan of spaghetti and tomatoes and everything, so I like really wanted to do that. And I also saw there was actually like some controversy over that recipe as well. I don't know if you
Really?
saw this. Yeah, so like people online were like, "Oh, like how can you make spaghetti like this? Like how can you like put like spaghetti like on top of like tomatoes and like pour boiling water over it? Like how does that
Oh my
make
God.
it boiled or whatever?" But then someone on Instagram who I guess like had no like irons in the fire, whatever that phrase is, no whatever. He like actually did it, and he was like, actually like this is pretty good. Like I would be making this again. And I think he said something like the fact that she like put the boiling water on top of the starchy pasta actually made it creamy because there wasn't like as much pasta water. It like makes a really creamy sauce. And he was
So
like,
all the starch soaks into the very little water there is.
yeah,
And
exactly.
is left there.
Exactly. Yeah. So he was like, oh yeah, so this was like really great. Like loved the way like the greens cooked down. Honestly, this was a 10 out of 10 recipe. And I was like, okay, so she doesn't deserve all of this hate that's going on.
Yeah.
So I wanted to try that.
Okay.
I think also the other thing that I noticed is like she's so into these kind of like tips and tricks and stuff, but she would also like cut grape tomatoes like one by one. And I feel like if you're as chronically online as we are,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah, like putting them in a plate and like putting the plate on top and then like slicing through all of them all at once. So like I'm surprised she didn't do that, and that also kind of like led into this idea of like, oh, she has oodles and oodles of time that she can cut grape tomatoes one by one, and like an online trick of how you can cut grape tomatoes all at once is like unappealing to her. So that's what
Oh my gosh, unappealing or not shown to her because she's an out of touch human, maybe.
I guess. Something like that. Yeah, but I like the skillet spaghetti. And then just as my second place was adding sparkling water to eggs. Did you see that one?
Oh yeah. That was very interesting. Yeah.
I guess like she didn't actually do it, but then she just like talked about it. Yeah. I was like, ooh, I should try that. I do love a good scrambled fluffy egg. So yeah.
Did you watch How I Met Your Mother? Oh, okay. I was gonna ask you if you recognized I was going to ask you if you recognize one of her friends in the Bestie episode, because I saw her and I was like, oh, that's blah blah.
Oh, yeah, she told me about this.
She was an episode in How I Met Your Mother, and then it is later revealed that she was also an episode on Suits, which makes sense why they know each other. But yeah, I'll just forever know her as blah blah.
What was her character on him? What did blah blah do?
So she was like Ted's new girlfriend. Ted is the main character, and the reason her name is blah blah is because like this whole show is a flashback, and modern day Ted could not remember this girl's name, so he's like, let's call her blah blah. And she was so, oh my gosh, it was actually a really funny episode. She was so insecure that they had met online that she like told him to make up some really cute meet cute for how they met. And so then he did, but it was like so obvious he was lying. And then it turns out they didn't meet online on an app. They met online in an online game, and she was just embarrassed about it for no reason.
Yeah, I think I didn't look her up on Suits. I think I kind of remember her character. Actually, maybe I should spend some time doing that. What's her name again? Abigail
Spencer?
Spencer. Who was she on Suits? Oh, okay, yeah. She was Dana Scotty Scott on Suits. Yes, she is one of Harvey's first serious love interests. Okay, so I was right. Remember, I was like, I think she was one of Harvey's love interests.
Yeah.
Yeah, which makes sense because I think Meghan was like the other guy's love interest. So like the love interests didn't really interact because of power dynamics, I guess. Oh, well.
Yeah, well.
Yeah. Well, let me see if I had any more questions. Oh, I didn't have any other questions, but I did want to speak about two things. I think like the reason that there is a lot of hate in general around Meghan, I don't know if you were like following this when she was a part of the royal family like many years ago.
Yeah, not super closely.
Okay, yeah. So I remember at the time, like my sister was telling me that she got a lot of hate from UK media, and she, as a result, like wanted to blend in as much as possible. So she like wore a lot of neutrals, like tried not to stand out, like did her best to be like really, really, really polite and like honestly bend over backwards to like appease UK media and stuff. But the reason that UK media was really against her to begin with is like has like racist undertones basically because she is like half black. So I feel like I wonder if there is an aspect of like trying so hard for so long to fit in that you still have elements of that in your personality, and like that could also be why she is like still trying really hard to fit in and honestly just be perfect, right?
Yeah, that's so interesting. Yeah, I didn't follow all of the drama and the fallout and everything super closely, but I just remember being like, she seems lovely. Like, I think so much of this hate is undeserved. And I think I watched some of Meghan and Harry, or Harry and Meghan, the show that came out a few years ago right after they left.
Harry met Sally.
Yes, that one. That's the one.
Okay, yeah, that movie.
And yeah, it sounded so similar to like Princess Diana's experience, and just a woman getting so much undeserved hate. Like on top of that, of course, she's not even fully white, and so people have even more opinions about it, but just like a woman just trying to exist and getting so much hate for simply existing and like being with the person she loves. And I remember feeling so bad for her. And I think the show, I mean, maybe it was meant to like humanize her more and be like, look, she's so lovable. I think if that was the case, I don't know if it did a great job at that, but I think it's clear like she's like a lovely person. She might not be the most grounded person, but like she's nice. She seems like nice and caring and thoughtful, and yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And I think she is like a loving person towards her like inner circle. She seems like she's a great mom. Honestly, all of those like that tea party that she threw, I was like, I want to go to a tea party. So yeah, I think that much is clear. I just think like her persona to like the masses just does not appeal, which is you know, that's fine. It's fine. I guess it wasn't fine to the UK, but it's fine for me. It's cool. I do have another question. What would you want to see more of in season 2?
Ooh, I think we already covered this, but like what we both loved was her learning from someone who has more experience than her doing something that she's really interested in. I would love to see more of that. Like if she's like, "Oh, I've always wanted to learn how to like make perfect pizza," or like something, and just bringing in an expert to teach her how to do something. I would love to learn that. And I like her like little tips and tricks for just like personalized hospitality, like the lavender towels. Would love to see more of that as well. Things that are I would maybe caveat this, things that are accessible to anyone. Um any tips and tricks like that that don't require like a ton of time, but add a really nice touch. Yeah. How about
I
you?
agree. I agree. I feel like if like every episode of season 2 was like, here is this renowned chef in this particular area, or like who makes this dish really, really well, and like Megan's like learning from that person, I would love to see that. I think that was like a good vibe. Um, what would you want to see less of?
Less Meghansplaining and less, I think, just less of guests being in awe of her doing something so ordinary. It just felt so inauthentic. And I think it was, I would say, mostly Daniel in episode 1 with that attitude, but also Mindy a little bit. Like, just it just felt so fake, and like she asked him to come on the show and be impressed with her. That was the vibe I got. So less of that, more of authentic learning. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like, well, I mean, don't know too much about Daniel, but I feel like with the Mindy episode, there were many scenarios outside of the show where Mindy herself is like very self-deprecating. I think that's just like her vibe,
Mm-hmm.
her MO. And so I feel like she was trying to be very self-deprecating on this show to like make Megan feel more comfortable, maybe.
Mm.
So I wonder if that like maybe that's why, but then it also came off as like, oh, Megan, you're like so great.
Yeah.
Like, that really helped it either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think maybe I also need to check myself. I don't know if this is true, but I just want to make sure also I'm not thinking about her as a woman with confidence coming off as arrogant. Like, if she's just confident, I don't know. If men acted like that, if a man acted like that, I think I would still be a little annoyed, actually.
Mm.
So, yeah. But, yeah.
Yeah. I think like I think I'm in general very anti-authoritarian to begin with, so I don't really like when people tell me things. Oh, actually we didn't really talk about this, but like did you ever watch Barefoot Contessa growing up? Like on
No.
TV. Okay, well that was like another cooking show that I used to watch a lot with my mom, and Ina Garten is the host of Barefoot Contessa, and I feel like with her, she like the way that she did all of this, like she also did very similar things, like household things and also cooking things. I think like mostly focused on the cooking, but I felt like there was such like warmth and everything around
Mm,
Ina Garten that it was a very similar setting for this show, so I kind of expected that warmth and then like didn't really get
mm,
it either. So I think I was also thrown off there. I don't know how I got into this, but that was just some thought that came out to me. I think I would like more
interesting.
warmth. Like I felt
Yeah.
like I saw more of that warmth because it comes from like passion in what you're doing. I feel like
Hmm.
passion in what you're doing, and like maybe like you're really excited to share things with people. And so like that's why I felt like I got more of that warmth from like Chef Choi, like that,
Mm, yeah.
and not necessarily the other ones.
Totally. Yeah. Warmth, and like they were genuinely like riffing off of each other, and they were like, "Oh yeah, like I
Yeah.
love just like dancing and like all this stuff, like LA specific stuff that we both have a shared experience with." And yeah, it just seems so genuine.
Yeah.
Um
I
okay,
think
also wait, I just remembered this funny moment when she was like, I'll show you how to make a crudité platter or something. Yeah, that was actually so funny.
She spent so many, oh my god, this entire season was like, everyone needs to know how to make a crudité. Like, I have never heard the word crudité like so many times before.
Guess what? She even taught us how to spell it, so.
You did, but con acento sobre la E. Yeah, crazy. One other thing that I noted is, I don't know if you felt this way, but I felt like the other reason why she could kind of come across as is inauthentic is I noticed that she didn't really like talk to the camera that much. Like she like barely looked at the camera. She was always like, looking off screen, like to Michael, I guess, who's the director, I think. Yeah. Like she was always talking to like Michael or like her guests. Like she never talked like directly like at the camera, you know?
Huh.
And I wondered if that was an intentional choice or like if she had looked at the camera, would that have been better? I'm not sure.
Maybe that goes back to the whole introvert thing. Like maybe that's too awkward for her. But I don't know. I'm trying to think on other cooking shows and stuff. Do they look at the camera? Like on Great British Bake Off? I guess they do.
I guess they do.
Maybe that would have helped with feeling warmth. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a good
question.
I
think even in like Barefoot Contessa, I feel like I'm pretty sure she like looks at the camera and like that also makes it more of a homey feeling because she's like, oh, like I've invited you into my home and like I'm gonna tell you how to make this like skillet spaghetti. But like
unless
I feel
like we're a fly on the wall.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't feel like I was a welcome viewer in her house. I was just like there. I was like the camera holder, maybe. I was like Michael's assistant. Like, that's kind of the power dynamic and like the unwantedness that I felt as a viewer.
Ooh, like, interesting.
Yeah. Like it's fine that I'm there, but if I were to leave, it would be okay.
Wow. Yeah. No, I think that's really astute. I would not have pinpointed that reason as why. But I agree, yeah. It didn't feel like, I don't know, yeah. It felt very different from the Great British Bake Off, which now that's my comparison for this entire show. Fair. Which is maybe not fair because I love that show.
And it's nothing like Temptation Island.
Oh, don't get me started.
Oh boy. Well, those are like all my thoughts. I feel like, yeah. Oh yeah, and the fact that I didn't know she spoke Argentinian Spanish. I don't know that.
It's very interesting. And I mean, I'm not a Spanish expert by any means, but it sounded like her accent was pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And I felt like I was like, oh, like, does she actually know how to speak Spanish or is she just like replying to like the words that she knows? But then they had a whole conversation about like the focaccia or something. I couldn't remember. They had like a whole conversation in Spanish. I was like, oh, she knows no Spanish.
Yeah, totally.
By the way,
I did not know that.
Yeah, I did some research on that guest, by the way, the Argentinian model. So she is married to the like #1 polo player like in the world.
Whoa.
So that's why she kept talking about polo. And
oh my gosh, that makes so much sense. When she was like, oh yeah, our kids were playing polo at one point.
Yeah.
Was that with her? I was like, this is like, don't let the public hear you say this. This is only rich people play polo.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Okay, yeah, so let me see. So Delfina is married to Ignacio Figueras, or Nacho Figueras is his nickname. And he is considered the David Beckham of polo. He is considered to be the most famous polo player in the world. Wow. And basically, like the Ralph Lauren logo is like him. Like, yeah.
Dang, today I learned. All right.
Yeah, I thought that was cool. And they live in Wellington, Florida, which is the polo capital of the world, apparently. And also where my aunt lives. So
no way.
Yeah, I was like, Wellington.
Does your aunt play polo?
No, absolutely not. But I should tell her. Be like, hey, have you seen Nacho lately? Yeah.
Wow, so interesting.
Yeah. Cool.
Cool.
Well,
All right.
I feel great. I feel like we digested the show. It was a lot.
Yeah. Oh, one last thing.
Okay.
Did you feel like her mahjong friends were fake? Like fake friends?
Oh,
Like hired
okay.
actors?
Oh, I wouldn't say that. Okay, I have to be really honest in this moment. I fell asleep while watching that episode. So when you were going,
You're so
when you
real
were
for
going
that.
through the episodes and you were like, oh, the mahjong episode, I was like, don't ask me about that.
Until you were like, uh-huh.
Yeah, so I think I only saw like the very beginning where she was like, I love mahjong, but then I didn't like see her really interact with them
Okay.
at all.
Okay, yeah, they all come at the end, and it's very like, oh my god, oh, I'm forgetting all their names, but it's like, Rebecca, quote unquote, doesn't drink, but you know she'll have some, and like it just seemed like not real.
Weird.
Like they were creating a shared history that doesn't exist. But I don't want to hate for no reason. Like maybe they are friends, but yeah, that's just how it felt to me.
You know, I can imagine that for her, like seeing what I saw on the TV and like kind of getting some insight into her personality and also knowing how hard it is to make friends as an adult. Like,
Yeah. So
I
true.
can totally see her like struggling to find people to be like, oh yeah, we're gonna have a game night and we're gonna play mahjong and stuff. So I wouldn't put it past her. I would hire friends too if I could.
Which leads us to who's going to be in season 2?
Yeah, good question. Oh, you know, one thing I did want to see more of in season 2, I wanted to see more of her family. Like, I wanted to see,
Yeah, I agree.
like, maybe not just Harry, but like more of the kids. Because she
Kids.
talks about her kids so much. It would be cool to like see her do crafts with them or like actually.
Yeah. They weren't even in the finale, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah, they weren't in any of it. I would love to see them. Maybe she wants to keep them off camera. I don't know.
Maybe, but it's not like the media doesn't know what they look like, you know.
Yeah, true.
I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's the case.
Yeah. Oh, and I saw that and after the last episode ended, I saw that Guy passed away. Her dog.
Yeah, R.I.P. Guy. That was the last
R.I.P. Guy.
Oh, R.I.P. Guy.
So sad.
He looked pretty old.
Yeah. Sounds like he had a really good full life.
You want to do a recap? You can do a little recap for what we discussed. Okay, yeah, so I guess I learned a lot about the last name thing. I think that was really interesting because I think that is something that has divided the internet. So that was cool to see. But yeah, looking forward to seeing season 2. I guess we've signed ourselves up now. We're like gonna watch it. We can watch it together. And yeah, I'm curious to see if they switch up the format at all.
Yeah, me too. I hope for more learnings from professionals, and less like awkward friend situations. But overall, yeah, honestly, liked it a lot more than I thought I would. If you were to rate this out of 10, this whole show, what would you give it?
Ooh, I'm feeling like a 4. I'm feeling like a 4. Like, I think it's a good background show. I openly admitted I did not watch that mahjong episode.
Yeah.
I probably won't go back and watch it, honestly. If I watch season 2, it will be like on in the background. So I'm going to say 4 out of 10.
Okay. All right. I think I would give it maybe like a 5 or 5.5 because I think it was net enjoyable. Like, not a ton of interesting content, but like, yeah, net enjoyable. So I'll stick with 5.5. It sounds like you line up very well with Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Maybe slightly above.
Yeah.
Tiny bit nicer. Just a little bit. Okay, cool.
All right. Great. Well, that's a wrap. Thanks for yapping with us. If you loved this episode, have some hot takes we missed, or if you've got a show you're dying for us to binge next, find us on socials. We're at Binge Yap Repeat.
Until next time, happy binging!